Guys, welcome to week 5. We're moving on to a period in American literature that starts around 1914, goes to about 1945. And what you have to realize is that we were kind of in a period of isolation here. We'd had 3 wars with the English. We've had a war with the Spanish, with Mexico. We were kind of worrying about dealing with our own issues here and really wanted to kind of stay out of all this business. Um, but we got we got drawn in, and what one thing that's kind of interesting is um, urbanization, industrialization, immigration, technology, migration from the country to the city, from farm to factory. Influx of international people. Technology, the movie screen, the radio, the telegraph, all these things are starting to come in and connect the world in ways that hadn't been connected before. You know, um, so there are connections being made all across the country, all around the world. The automobile appears. And what this causes in America is it causes friction because you have a large portion of America that is very WASP, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, and they are very, 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 very uptight with their morals. Then you have a lot of people like the Irish, Scottish, French, German, just Spanish, people from all over the world coming in, and they don't have the same religious strictures and morality, especially in terms of sexual morality. And these different cultures and different cultural beliefs cause, a large amount of friction because the waspy people are the ones kind of ruling everything and making rules and laws, and they're, like today, they're imposing their morality on everyone else. And so you have things like prohibition, which causes it pretty much establishes organized crime across the country and causes a huge spike in organized crime where there was none before. And alcohol wasn't the only thing that was prohibited. You also had, this is when marijuana first becomes illegal. Cocaine, all kinds of drugs become legal, but it is okay for the government and pharmacies to cause a heroin epidemic with laudanum that kills millions and millions of people, which just happened again in the late 90s, early 2000s. For some, drugs are bad and you go to jail. For others, you can kill millions and get rich off of it, no consequences. So you have this kind of conflict between the people with and the people without, and even more so because of World War One, women and African Americans and other minorities who previously weren't allowed access to jobs have jobs, and this causes conflict. This causes competition for jobs. You also, later on, you get the Great Depression. You get the rise of the Communist Party and other philosophical ideas out of Europe. You get psychology, from Freud, and other, early psychologists, and you get a lot of philosophies, and these things change the way people think. So you end up with several different influences on literature, and I have an entire sheet here that explains them all to you, but I want to give you a brief rundown and not bore you too much. Um, you have modernism, and modernism has some unique, kind of characteristics. Instead of it being about the society and the collective, it's about the individual, what the individual does, the value of the individual, what the individual can do. It experiments with, gets away from formal, very strict forms of poetry and things have to be this way. It is highly experimental. You also have, absurdity. Um, Absurdity is kind of hard to explain if you're not familiar with it, but basically it's the notion that, reality is becoming in a very absurd and strange place to live, because it has these huge, you know, things that are dichotomous, that exist simultaneously but don't really mesh. Symbolism is a big part of this as well. I mean, you guys know symbolism. All right, and formalism. Basically, I know modernism is experimental, but it also is experimental in using kind of new rules, new forms. Formalism has, some, is an interesting kind of criticism. But what formalism kind of states is that you only use the words on the page to derive meaning. You ignore history, ignore culture, any information about the author, and you focus just on what's there. And this, you can see this kind of connects to the idea of immigration and different people coming together, because instead of looking at like who the author is and who the author, where the author comes from, you just look at what he or she can produce, and that's the only thing of value. So I have some pretty extensive explanations of these things in this sheet here. Psychological criticism is kind of new. It's the idea of looking at how characters work, or how a writer works. Is psychology that goes into that. Cultural criticism. Criticism is a fancy term for just analyzing literature. So, what cultural criticism states is that you can use what's going on culturally to look at, to kind of understand a writer. And also, culturalism has kind of a focus on marginalized groups, groups that aren't very represented in literature, and it seeks to kind of write that literature and create that literature and examine that literature and bring it to life for these people you don't hear much from. Sociological criticism, it's pretty obvious. I mean, you're just basically using, a study of society to kind of understand what's going on in literature, and same thing with history. But mainly what I want you to kind of realize, is all of these things here are going to be considered when making literature in this time period. And things are changing very quickly now in literature. Things have been kind of slow paced change for a long time. And then all of a sudden, with the Civil War and this war, you have a lot of industrialization, a lot of urbanization, a lot of moving around, a lot of different populations of people moving around. And it really has this massive effect on literature. So that's what we're going to be kind of focusing on. And these criticisms, or these tools here, is what you use to kind of look at that and understand that literature. Thank you.